Good morning, everybody. This is Sandy with Apollo Travel, and I have your Caribbean update. Over the next few weeks, several Caribbean islands plan to cautiously reopen to international tourism, joining those destinations that have already reopened or that began phased operations in late May. Border reopenings are accompanied by strict new public health protocols and procedures, some of which require air travelers to produce a COVID-free test result administered within 48 hours prior to travel. Here are the latest developments across the region. Anguilla. The island's borders remain closed to commercial international traffic through July 14th. Antigua and Barbuda. The V.C. Bird Airport reopened on June 4th, and American began daily flights out of Miami on that same day. Arriving passengers must complete a health declaration form as part of the screening process and submit a proof of a negative virus test taken 48 hours before boarding. Face masks are required in public. Aruba. The country officially reopened its borders for inbound travel for visitors from Bonaire and Curacao on June 15th. The Caribbean, with the exception of Dominican Republic and Haiti, along with Europe and Canada, was opened on July 1st, and visitors from the U.S. on July 10th. Bahamas. The country reopens its borders, airports, and seaports on July 1st, according to the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and Aviation. All incoming visitors must present a proof of a COVID-19 negative swab test upon arrival, no more than 10 days old. Children under the age of 2 are exempt. All travelers must complete an electronic health visa. No quarantine is required upon arrival. Barbados is set to reopen to commercial flights within the first 2 weeks of July. Protocols for arriving visitors will be announced shortly. Many businesses, services, and sports activities reopened on June 5th. Face masks are required in public. Social events with up to 250 attendees are allowed. Restrictions on public parks and beaches have been removed, but a curfew remains in effect from Friday to Sunday between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. The Bermuda government said the island was to reopen to air travelers on July 1st. Passengers arriving at the L.F. Wade Airport must present proof that they tested negative for COVID-19 within 72 hours of departing for Bermuda. Visitors will undergo a second test upon arrival and must quarantine in their accommodations until they receive the results, usually within 8 hours. Bonaire is lifting its border closures on July 1st for visitors from the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, and France. A maximum of 1,000 visitors per week is allowed. A negative COVID test must be conducted within 72 hours of the flight's departure for Bonaire. The U.S. is not a part of this reopening phase because we are still considered high risk. The Cayman Islands borders, airports, and seaports on Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman are closed until September 1st. Dominica plans are underway for a reopening of the country's borders on July. According to the Discover Dominica Authority, protocols are being put in place for reopening of the borders in a phased approach. Dominican Republic international airports throughout the country are closed to commercial traffic to July 1st. Grenada, the country had planned to reopen its borders to commercial international traffic on July 1st, but has recently announced a more cautious approach. With daily reports of increased rates of infection, especially in the U.S., which is the main source of market for Grenada, officials will continue to work on protocols before the country begins to accept commercial flights. A newly appointed COVID subcommittee is expected to wrap up its work by the end of July. After that, the government's decision on protocols, regulations, quarantine, and testing will be guided by an advisory committee. Jamaica's borders reopened to international travelers on June 15th. The Ministry of Health and Wellness will work in collaboration with the Airports Authority of Jamaica regarding screenings of arriving passengers. Arriving passengers are required to complete and submit a pre-arrival authorization that asks about possible exposure to COVID-19. Screenings will include electronic thermal scans, face masks, and social distancing in public spaces will be required of all persons, including visitors. This includes points of entry, ground transportation, and accommodation facilities. Puerto Rico reopens to inbound tourism on July 15th. All commercial flights use Luis Munoz Marin Airport in San Juan. The Puerto Rico National Guard is assisting with enhanced health screenings of arriving passengers, including the rapid COVID-19 test. Arriving passengers may be asked to self-quarantine for 14 days, regardless of symptoms. Face masks are required in public. A curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. was in effect until June 30th. Beaches have reopened. Limited group gatherings are permitted for those within the same household. Many hotels are already open. Hotel pools are limited to 50% capacity, as are restaurants. Casinos remain closed. St. Barts reopened its borders to tourism on June 22nd. Visitors must be tested for COVID 72 hours prior to arrival. After receiving the test result, visitors must send proof to their villa agency or hotel before arriving. Visitors with negative test results can move about the island freely once they clear immigration. If a visitor arrives in St. Barts without a recent negative test, they will be given a rapid COVID test upon arrival and then asked to self-quarantine in their accommodations until the results are delivered within 24 hours. If the test result proves positive, the visitor will be moved to the island's quarantine center, which is a set of apartments near the Stadium of St. Jean. Local healthcare worker will take care of the visitor for 14 days or until a negative test result is reached. Many restaurants have resumed dine-in service with social distancing and safe serving practices in place. Beaches are now open. In St. Lucia, the Hiwanara Airport reopened on June 4th in Phase 1 of the country's reopening plan, meaning that the borders are now open to all international carriers and to visitors carrying all passports. The first flights were scheduled to resume in early July, with American's daily flight from Miami on July 7th. Delta is posting early July departures from Atlanta and JetBlue from JFK. St. Lucia requires proof of a COVID-free test prior to travel. Temperature checks are taken upon arrival. Visitors must wear face masks in public from arrival through departure, including during the hotel stay. A list of hotels that have met the new COVID-19 certification process will be announced shortly. Any arrivals not booked into a certified property are required to go into a 14-day quarantine. In Phase 1, which runs to July 31st, no sites or attractions are open, although some shopping centers are. A number of restaurants are open for delivery and takeout services, but none offer seated service. Phase 2 runs from August 1st to September 30th, and Phase 3 begins October 1st. In St. Maarten, the Princess Juliana Airport will reopen to full operations on July 1st for travelers from Europe and North America. At the airport, you will see the newly installed 40 plexiglass shielding screens and added hand sanitizers. All staff will be wearing masks, and access into the terminal building will only be granted to passengers. Passengers will have thermal temperature screenings upon arrival and must wear masks at all times in the airport and in public spaces on the island. Bars, dine-in restaurants with limited seating, salons, souvenir shops, and retail stores reopened on June 1st, and all remaining businesses opened on June 15th. Turks and Caicos, Borders Provinciales Airport, and the private jet terminals will reopen on July 22nd. The Grand Turk Cruise Center will remain closed until August 31st. Airline partners have confirmed that flight service will resume from the U.S., Canada, and Europe. The U.S. Virgin Islands territory reopened to visitors on June 1st. New health and safety protocols for all tourism stakeholders have rolled out in conjunction with the Department of Health and guidance from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. This has been your travel update from Apollo Travel. If you have any questions about any of these islands, resorts, or hotels on these islands, and you want more information or quotes on your next Caribbean vacation, please call us at 321-729-8255. 888-8899, or you can email us at info@myapollotravel.com. We are open for meetings and teleconferencing. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and that little bell notification box so you are notified the next time we have a travel update. Have a great day.